Welcome to Geek on Film with your host, Robbie Holmes. Hey there, welcome to episode 16 of season 2 of Geek on Film. I'm Robbie Holmes, and I'm excited to get into reviewing a few films this week, including our main review of Furiosa. But before we get there, let's jump into the other things that I watched. Thank goodness, Madam Web has finally landed on Netflix. Let's read its summary from IMDb. Cassandra Webb is a New York metropolis paramedic who begins to demonstrate signs of clairvoyance. Forced to challenge revelations about her past, she needs to safeguard 3 young women from a deadly adversary who wants them destroyed. This movie was written by Matt Saga, Burke Sharpless, and Claire Parker, and was directed by S.J. Clarkson. The main characters of this movie are Cassandra Webb, played by Dakota Johnson, Julia Cornwall, played by Sydney Sweeney, Anya Corazon, played by Isabella Merced, Maddie Franklin, played by Celeste O'Connor, Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahir Rahim, Mike Epps is in this as O'Neill, Emma Roberts is Mary Parker, Adam Scott is Ben Parker. Oh, these are surprises, right? Shouldn't have told you that. All right, we're done talking about the humans that are in this movie, because what we should talk about is director jail and script jail that everybody involved in this movie should be put in. None of this movie's fault is the actors. It is single-handedly one of the worst films I've seen in a very long time. I jokingly said, I believe, let me go to my diary over on Letterboxd, Robbie the Geek on Letterboxd. And in this movie, I said you had Dakota Johnson and Adam Scott leading a comic book based film, and it sucked. Everyone involved needs to be put in timeout. No more writing, directing, or producing films for you folks until you get the stink of this movie off of you. Boy, this movie is bad. I don't know how it was possible, but I don't generally want to review movies I don't like. I've tried to stick to that. But this is one where I'm hopefully taking one for the team. This movie is bad. The way that we get to the characters having their powers sort of is connected to the comic books. The 3 young women that Dakota Johnson's character is trying to protect don't actually have their powers. We only see those in flash forwards or visions. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. You have more talent on the screen in this movie than any one movie normally gets, and it was like a 0-star film. I think I'm done. I don't have any more energy to complain about this movie. I was grumpy about it when I watched it with my wife. I've been grumpy about it ever since. It makes me sad and frustrated. It's on Netflix. Feel free to waste 2 hours. Next up for me was a rewatch of a film that I have a lot of affection for. Yep, I'm pre-gaming it. Jerry Maguire. Our friends at IMDb have the summary as, when a sports agent has a moral epiphany and is fired for expressing it, he decides to put his new philosophy to the test as an independent agent with the only athlete who stays with him and his former colleague. So the reason I rewatched this is the Rewatchables podcast finally did this film. It feels like it was made to be a Rewatchables. It's been talked about on a lot of different podcasts. It's written and directed by Cameron Crowe. It is one of Tom Cruise's best films. Tom Cruise plays the titular Jerry Maguire. Cuba Gooding Jr. plays Rod Tidwell in an Oscar-winning supporting role. Renee Zellweger plays Dorothy Boyd. Kelly Preston plays Avery Bishop, who is Jerry Maguire's fiance at the beginning of the movie. Jerry O'Connell's in here as Frank Cushman. It's a much smaller role than you'd expect, given where he is given billing. Jay Moore is fantastic as Bob Sugar, who is a competitor to Jerry Maguire. Bonnie Hunt plays Laurel Boyd, who is Dorothy, Renee Zellweger's character's sister. She is unbelievable and should have been considered for Best Supporting Actress. Regina King plays Marcy Tidwell as Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character's wife, Rod Tidwell. She is unreal. She's so good in this film. Jonathan Lipnicki plays Roy Boyd, who is Dorothy's son, Renee Zellweger, who has unbelievable chemistry with Tom Cruise. Maybe the best of his entire career, to be honest. And then there's a bunch of other people. This movie's great. So, what got me here, like I mentioned, was the rewatchables. They spent a lot of time talking about this film and about how important this is to all the people involved. Right, this is the movie that has a huge impact on Tom Cruise's career from this point forward. He's able to sort of be the anchor of a film, in my opinion. You've got Cameron Crowe basically making one of the most empathetic and caring films, even though I feel like the character that Renee Zellweger plays is really um, unrealistic and very flat. Um, I'm attracted to Jerry from the very beginning, and then we'll follow him anywhere like a puppy dog is not fun as a character. As a kid, I think I watched this and was like, "Oh yeah, she's great." Watching it again, I think that Renee Zellweger was really unprotected by the script, and I don't think the character of Dorothy is a good leading woman role for anyone to play. To be honest, um, it is currently over on Apple TV Plus. Is one of the few places that it's currently streaming, but you can rent it and buy it anywhere you'd expect. Jerry Maguire, super fun. We're gonna move on to the next film, which is Funny Face. My wife is a huge fan of Audrey Hepburn. So once in a while, I will just go and look for a film that I have not seen that is an Audrey Hepburn film. And this little beauty came up. So, Funny Face. According to our friends at IMDb, this film from 1957, uh, the summary is an impromptu fashion shoot at a bookstore brings about new fashion model discovery in the shop clerk. That shop clerk is Joe Stockton, played by Audrey Hepburn. The photographer is Dickie Avery, played by Fred Astaire. Maggie Prescott is played by Kay Thompson. She is the editor of the newspaper of the magazine. She's unbelievable. There's a lot of people you recognize in this movie, but we'll stop there. It is written by Leonard Gersh and it is directed by Stanley Donen. This movie is a musical that is sort of near the end of Fred Astaire's run of being the leading man in most dance related musicals. And it's beautiful. The way this is probably how so many people in the late 50s and early 60s were exposed to Paris. These scenes that are shot when they convince Audrey Hepburn's character to become a model and become the face of the magazine are all shot on location in Paris. We kept talking about it while we were watching the film that, like, if you can imagine 1958 America, most people not traveling to Europe, this was probably how they found out about the Eiffel Tower or about the Champs Elysees or the Arc de Triomphe or any of those things. Like it's an amazing film for exposing Parisian culture to the rest of the world. I enjoyed this film. I don't think this is one of the best films of this type that I've ever seen, but it is so much fun to watch. I give it a 3.5 star review. I think my one liner review of it was fun but a bit too long. I think the movie is just about 20 minutes too long. I feel like I don't want to question the writer or the director, but it's 103 minutes and it's just, man, you could have been in and out in this one in 86 minutes and it would have been a great film. It's just there's a long sequences where you feel like you're holding and it's stuff you've seen before or sequences that don't include both characters or singing or it's a really good film, but it's not one that I think is what most modern performers would expect. The other thing that's pretty amazing is watching Audrey Hepburn just like be unbelievably graceful in this movie. And she's dancing with Fred Astaire or with Kay Thompson, and she's unbelievable. She's you can't take your eyes off her. She's such a star and has so much and I enjoyed myself. It was a really fun watch. I watched it over on Canopy, but it is also available on Paramount Plus, and it's available on Hoopla. So use your local library system and get access to one of the two streaming solutions called Hoopla or Canopy, and you too can watch it for free. It's fun. Go watch it. Next up for me was the 1999 classic, The Talented Mr. Ripley. In late 1950s New York, a young underachiever named Tom Ripley is sent to Italy to retrieve Dickie Greenleaf, a rich, spoiled millionaire playboy. But when the errand fails, Ripley takes extreme measures. This movie is written by Patricia Highsmith and Anthony Minghella and is directed by Anthony Minghella. It is starred in by Matt Damon as Mr. Ripley, Gwyneth Paltrow as Marge Sherwood, Jude Law as Dickie Greenleaf, Kate Blanchett as Meredith Loge, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Freddie Mills, Jack Davenport as Peter Smith Kingsley, and James Rebhorn as Herbert Greenleaf. There's a couple other folks, but that's a good starting point. This movie is pretty great. I think my review of it was that it was a bit slow, but still amazing. So, a pretty solid 3.5 to 4 star film at this point. Matt Damon is unreal in this movie. He has the ability to play a malleable character who is both sort of an underdog and a monster. Gwyneth Paltrow plays Marge Sherwood, who is the girlfriend of Dickie Greenleaf, Jude Law. And Kate Blanchett plays Meredith Loge, who is sort of Tom Ripley's as Dickie Greenleaf's beau. I said to my wife Amy while rewatching this that I would have really liked to see the two characters be swapped. I think Kate Blanchett would have made a better Marge Sherwood. It would have made a much more interesting set of scenes. And I think Jude Law in this movie is angelic and sort of amazing, from the way he looks to the way he acts to how confident he is. To um, This is a unbelievable movie full of amazingly attractive and talented humans. You cannot go wrong watching this movie, so you should. Right now, it is over on Paramount Plus, and of course, you can rent or buy it anywhere else. Next up is the 1999 The Talented Mr. Ripley. And our friends at IMDb have a summary as: in late 1950s New York, a young underachiever named Tom Ripley is sent to Italy to retrieve Dickie Greenleaf, a rich and spoiled millionaire playboy. But when the errand fails, Ripley takes extreme measures. This is a fun movie because my wife had never seen it, so this is a rewatch for me. The writers of this are Patricia Highsmith and Anthony Minghella, directed by Anthony Minghella. The cast for this movie are Tom Ripley played by Matt Damon. You've got Marge Sherwood played by Gwyneth Paltrow, Dickie Greenleaf played by Jude Law, Meredith Loge played by Kate Blanchett, Philip Seymour Hoffman played as Freddie Miles, Peter Smith Kingsley played by Jack Davenport, and Dickie's father, Herbert Greenleaf, played by James Rebhorn. This movie is so much fun. It's a little slow, which is what I put in my review on Letterboxd. But you get a chance to see one of my favorite unhinged Philip Seymour Hoffman roles, where he is just he's at 11 when he arrives. The rewatchables talk about films like this, and they will talk about like the heat check, the person who just changes the whole tone and temperature of a movie. And boy, howdy, is Freddie Miles a heat check on this movie. He arrives and everything is different. What's amazing is like watching him clock that Tom Ripley is not of Dickie's world. And he immediately starts questioning it. And then they're on a boat, and, you know, Marge gets annoyed by the boys playing, and Dickie has to what he calls solve the Marge problem, and he goes down below, and you can see Tom Ripley looking in through a porthole window into them canoodling, and it's so funny because you watch the recognition on Philip Seymour Hoffman's face as Freddy, and he's like, "Hey, Tommy, how's the peeping going?" And it's like, will never not be funny. Um, I wish we got more of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and all of these movies just remind me how much I miss him and his energy, and how much he can change every film he's a part of. The one big change, if I had my way and my druthers, would be to swap Kate Blanchett with Gwyneth Paltrow. I think it would be such a more interesting film. I think the chemistry between Kate Blanchett and Jude Law, and then the chemistry between Kate Blanchett and Tom Ripley, and just all of it would be so much better. And Gwyneth Paltrow would be really good as like this breath of fresh air coming in as Meredith in much smaller roles. I just don't think um, I think when it comes down to it, Matt Damon and Jude Law are both great casting, and I think Gwyneth just feels a little not in the same film at times. That's it for me on Talented Mr. Ripley. Let's move over to our main review, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Our friends at IMDb have this as the origin story of renegade warrior Furiosa before her encounter and team up with Mad Max. This movie is written by George Miller and Nick Larthos, and is directed by George Miller. Anya Taylor-Joy takes over the role of Furiosa. Chris Helmsworth is the character Dementis. We get Tom Burke as Praetorian Jack. This movie is surprisingly about an hour's worth of its runtime is a young Furiosa, played by Elia Brown. She's amazing. The History Man is played by George Chev Stove. Morton Joe in this case is played by Lockie Holm. The People Eater is played by John Howard. The Organic Mechanic is played by Angus Sampson. And we go all the way down the line. We get Nathan Jones back playing Rictus. You've got so much amazing going on in this film. Yeah, so many individual characters, so many unique faces. This movie's good. I don't think it is, and it sucks that it has to be compared this way, but it is not Mad Max Fury Road good, but it is good. To me, this film is in a tough position because I feel like Mad Max Fury Road was a very unique situation. It is a film that we hadn't gotten one of the Mad Max style films in a very long time in that series. And George Miller and his amazing wife editor have created a world, and were able to create a world in edit that didn't exist for the cast and the crew. Yeah, it is a feat, and probably one of the best films of the decade, in my opinion. Mad Max Fury Road. So Furiosa had a lot to live up to. I think it does a good job of telling a story that we didn't need told, but it doesn't take away from Mad Max Fury Road. It actually enhances the story. So it's a successful prequel, in my opinion. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is really good in this role because what we needed was somebody who could hold the camera, hold our attention, not do a lot of talking, and be believable when emotional stakes are brought to the table. And I think she does that in spades. I think you've got a Chris Helmsworth playing Dementis, which I've heard people compare this to like a Heath Ledger, Joker comparison. I don't know if I would say that much, but I do think Chris Helmsworth seems like he is having a great time in this film. He's chewing up all the scenery. He is over the top, sort of out for himself, out for today, despondent, given up on life except for the life you're currently living villain. And he's fun. Like it's fun, which is not something you often say in Mad Max movies. I will say Tom Burke as Praetorian Jack was a nice surprise. I didn't expect there to be a connection for Furiosa in this world. And I think giving her someone who saw her value and who she was and gave her the confidence to be and become the Furiosa we meet in Mad Max Fury Road is great, because it's not just she starts as a powerfully strong young woman who will bite through a gas line. And I think where we get to in Mad Max Fury Road is we had no question she was always tough. How we got to the caring version of Furiosa is defined in this movie. And I think he is great as Praetorian Jack. I wish there was a Praetorian Jack story that we could see that Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa becomes a part of. I think there's an interesting prequel movie in the Mad Max universe of how Praetorian Jack became the driver of the war rig when it's created, how he's the guy that Immortan Joe leans on. So, yeah, I'm not going to spoil the end of this movie. I think if you know Mad Max Fury Road, you have an idea of where we're going. But I think it's a 3.5-star film that does not take away from the power of the movie that came before it, which is this is the prequel to, and that's saying something, because so many movies that try to do this fail. And I think George Miller, I will take a 3.5-star George Miller film over almost anything else. It is going to be propulsive. It's going to be interesting. And boy, is the energy going to be there for all of the characters and the story. I think that's it for me. I'm looking forward to next week's episode, which I think will either be I Saw the TV Glow or Richard Linklater's Hitman. Until then, thank you so much. Have a good week. Bye-bye. This has been a Geek on Film podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.